Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good evening, Facebook family. Welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan+Post. Hope everyone's doing fantastic this evening, and I hope you've had a wonderful Manic Monday. Now, people think about Manic Monday as being a bad thing. Now, when I think manic, I think really happy. I never think really depressed. So when I say just another Manic Monday, I'm like, it's great. It's a Manic Monday. I'm on fire, I'm manic, and it's wonderful. I haven't been quite manic, but I hope you've had a Manic Monday. I hope you've had a good Monday. Anyway, let's get right down into this episode. What to do when your children are used to only responding to threats. Now, I bet some of you parents, hello there, Post. I bet some of you parents don't think that you actually use threats when it comes to your children doing what they need to do. And here's the thing. If you start to practice consequences with your children, that is essentially a veiled threat. And if that is what is motivating your children, you're going to find over time the only way they do what it is that you want them to do is when you have to threaten them with the consequence. So I had a mom today, actually I had two fantastic stories. I think I make people a little paranoid when I'm hanging around because I always observe things. Hey Caitlin, and good evening to you too. I'm always hanging around and I always observe, and I think people get a little anxious. So I had a mom today, she texted me and she was like, help, I don't know what to do. My kids, she's trying to practice a love-based model. She's like, I don't know what to do. My kids won't do any of their chores without being threatened, and I don't know what else to do. I said, okay, well, this is just a quick text message, right? I said, okay, here's what you do. Now listen to these words. This is what my exact words to her were. And this is a mom with 7 children. So this is not a mom with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 kids. This is a mom with 7 kids. I've had the massive good fortune and privilege and honor to work with some families lately that have had tons of children. I mean, tons of children. 9, 13, just like, wow. So I said to the mom, she homeschools also. I said, hey, Michelle, I said, call all of them in and have them sit on the couch. And I said, pull them in with your energy. Pull up a chair and sit in front of them. Take some deep breaths. And then in a very quiet voice, share with them just how overwhelmed you've been feeling. Share with them just how stressed you've been feeling. And share with them just how stressed you know they've been feeling and how stressful things have been in the home. Apologize to them. Really get in touch with what you're feeling. That's how you pull your kids in. You pull your children in by creating an emotional container. When your children are out of control and they're going nuts and you're talking at them or yelling at them, all you're doing is creating more stress. But when you calm yourself down, you start to expand a positive feedback loop around your children. And that's a holding environment. That's an emotional containing environment. So she pulled all her children in and she texted me back and she said, it worked. It worked for all except for one child. And she said, she's my most stubborn child. She said she'd rather just go to bed instead of do her chore, and I know she'll go to bed. What do I do? I said, it's all good. Calm down. Text messages. Calm down. Love on her. Go in her room, love on her. It's about relationship. And tell her you'll help her with her chore. That's what you do. Mom texts me back 5 minutes later. It worked! And she uses a little mind-blown emoji. I can't believe it. She even thanked me for helping her. Bam! bam, it happens all the time. It's like clockwork. Lower the stress, you reduce the negative behavior. It is not rocket science, guys. Lower the stress, reduce the negative behavior. Had another experience. So I stay with my friend Rose Baker and her children while I'm in town. And Rose was off doing an appointment, and one of her caregivers was there with the kids. And I had taken a little afternoon nap. You know, after you're running hard for 7 days straight, you get exhausted. Even Big Papa gets exhausted. My batteries start to drop, get a little low. And so I took a little afternoon nap today, and I woke up. I used one of the kids' rooms. She's gracious and lets me use it. And so she had come in while I was taking the nap, come out, and the caregiver said, why don't you guys can go ahead and go on out. The caregiver said, why don't you go ahead and get what you need so you don't have to come back in here. Now, she'd already come in like 3 or 4 times, and I'd already fallen asleep. So before I'd fallen asleep, she had already come in and out, and it's not a big deal to me. So I was able to already establish that. And so then that kind of woke me up a little bit, and then I heard, a little bit of an elevation outside, and I could hear the little one's voice, kind of elevating, and so I thought, this is a good time for me to go ahead and get on up. So I got on up, and as I was walking out, the caregiver was at the door, and there were a bunch of kids, like they were eating watermelon. It's a beautiful day here, and the little one, I'm going to call her Janie, was kind of over in the kitchen. The caregiver was looking at her. I heard the caregiver say, okay, well, I heard Janie say, I'm gonna walk down to the mailbox and back. And they have a pretty big acreage, 10 acres or so, and so the mailboxes, they got a pretty long driveway. And Janie's like 10 years old, 11, maybe even 12, I don't know. She said, I'm gonna walk down to the mailbox and back. And I heard the caregiver say, well, does your mom let you do that? And she said, yeah, it's fine. I'm just gonna walk down to the mailbox and back. She said it again. And the caregiver said, no, I don't know if you should do that. I think you should wait till your mom gets back. Listen, if a child tells you very specifically in a very regulated way what they're going to do, it is probably okay. But because there are a lot of other children around and there's a lot of other activity, I think the caregiver started to get stressed. And what do we do when we become stressed? We move into control. And what happens when you move into control with a child with a trauma history who needs to feel in control in order to feel safe? Well, you create a control battle, right? That's the essence of a control battle. So the next thing the caregiver said, I think Janie said, well, I'm going to go do it anyway. And the caregiver said, well, your mom's going to be back here pretty soon. This is classic. Your mom's going to be back here pretty soon, and I'm going to tell her everything that happened. What is that called? That's called a threat. And what's the child say? The child says, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Now listen to what's happening with the relationship here. The relationship is becoming increasingly strained. All because of the need to control. The little girl needs to control, and what she's really trying to do is regulate herself by walking down to the mailbox and back. Caregiver needs to control because she's getting stressed with all the dynamics going around. She's not sure what to do. And this is a caregiver that actually knows this child. I've only met this child twice. So, you would think that I would have less insight into these dynamics, but I'm just feeling the energy. I'm just hearing what's going on. I can see the control battle. I can see the tension, and what will eventually happen is that this caregiver will have less influence over this child because of these negative feedback loops that start getting created between the two of them. So then I intervened, and I said, you know what? I think I'll walk down to the mailbox with Janie. I said, Janie, do you mind if I walk down to the mailbox with you? If I had been the caregiver, I would have said, sure. Going down to the mailbox, Janie. I mean, they literally live out in the country. Janie ain't going nowhere. She's going to go to the mailbox, and she's going to come back, and it's all within their property. It's all contained, so it's not a big deal. So that's what I would have done. It never would have been an issue to begin with. So I said, Janie, hey, why don't I walk down to the mailbox with you? She said, oh, okay. And she said, I'm probably going to be listening to my music. I said, that's fine. She said, when I listen to my music on my headphones, even on 5, I can't really hear anyone. I said, that's cool. So she's letting me know that she needs to regulate, and the best way for her to do that is listen to her music. I love listening to my music too. So we set out, we're walking, and she's actually talking to me for a minute, and then she puts her headphones in, and I say something to her. I realize she can't hear me, so we're just walking a little bit, and my knees are already hurting from running on the treadmill this morning. And so I was walking slow. And she said, do you mind if I just run on down to the mailbox and back? I said, get after it, kid, because then that meant I didn't have to walk all the way down there. So she said, okay. So she took off running. Her flip-flop kind of fell off, so she had to fix that. And then she took off again. She went all the way down to the mailbox. At this point, I stopped my walk. I didn't go anywhere. I actually turned around and was looking at the trees in the whole opposite direction. And again, I've only met this child on 2 occasions. So she runs all the way down to the mailbox, comes back. As she's passing me, we high five, and then she said, I run fast, don't I? And I was like, yeah, you really do. She said, I think I'll do it again. I said, hey, get after it, kid. And she takes off again, runs down to the mailbox, comes back. Then she runs all the way back up to the house, and she runs all the way back down, and she says, oh man, I run really good, don't I? This is like the second time she said it. I run really good, don't I? I said, absolutely, you're in such good shape. Where did you learn to run like that? And I'm just like chilling, feeling good. And she's like, oh, I run a lot. She starts telling me this story. No more music, no more headphones, no more music, no more running. She said, then she said, I'm gonna run up to the house and back. I said, get after it. Runs up to the house, comes back, and then she's like, oh, wow. That was good. I was like, man, you're in such good shape. She said, yeah, I take on all the boys at school and I run. And she said, did you know that girls have 2 layers of fat and boys only have 1? But I think I probably only have 1 because I run all the time and I'm really strong. I said, that is a really cool thing to know, Janie. And that was it, guys. Stress and fear cause you to move into control. When we are stressed out and scared, the only time we move into control is when we're stressed out and scared. When we can calm ourselves down and focus on relationship, then we're focusing on influencing. Relationship influences, fear controls. You can use all the fear you want with your children and you can control them for as long as you possibly can, which is going to reach up to about adolescence and sometimes pre-adolescence, before your ability to control them, your ability to have power over them starts to wear off. And then when that happens, sadly, most parents have already lost the relationship. The relationship is the only thing that allows you to influence your children. So you always have to come back to focusing on relationship. Because if your template is to return to stress and fear and control, eventually you're going to have less influence over your kids. And I hate for that to happen, because then when they're teenagers, it really gets stressful for you as parents because they get closer to leaving the home. And I could talk to you about a teenage situation that happened earlier this morning too, but I'll share that another day. So remember, in any given situation, guys, we always have 2 choices. We can continue to react from our imprints of stress and fear and overwhelm and try to be more controlling, or we can stop. We can take 3 to 10 deep breaths. We can slow down, really challenge ourselves, because that's going against your blueprints. When you start slowing down in the midst of stress, it's going against your blueprints. And in that space, we choose love. And I hope you guys will choose love. God bless you. Big Papa loves you. Going to be hopping on a plane tomorrow back to Oklahoma City. Looking forward to that, to really recharge my batteries. And that's it. Hope to see you soon. We'll talk to you soon. Good night, everyone.